Nation, we are back. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get it. Yo, salute to everybody already here in the building. Salute to the greatest chat in YouTube history. As always, you guys, make sure you wipe them feet. That means hit those thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button. If you guys are not subscribed yet, we got a lot to talk about. Our Raiders just went out and signed linebacker Germaine Pratt. Looks as though we have Shaquille Griffin in the building for a visit. And it sounds like if everything goes right, he will be a Raider here very soon. Before we get to that, though, I want to introduce my brother, a good friend of the show. If you guys are not subscribed to Raiders Fan Radio yet, what are y'all waiting on? I don't know what's going on. My God, they deserve like 20, 30, 40,000 subscribers, man. Go over there and hit that subscribe button. Salute to my big bro, Murph. What's good, brother?
What's going on, Graphk? Thanks for having me back on, brother. Happy to be here, man.
Yes, man. It's cool because I had a whole show lined up, but now we're going to pivot. So we'll talk about some stuff. I want to get your take on the offseason and all that good stuff because, you know, we haven't talked since Pete Carroll and Ashton Genty, John Spytek. I want to get your opinion on all that. But real quick, what do you think about our Raiders going out there and signing veteran linebacker, the former captain of that Cincinnati defense, Germaine Pratt? He was asking, I think, for his walk-in papers in like February because they weren't looking to give him a new deal. They went out and drafted 2 replacements. This is a great move for us, Murph. How do you feel about the addition of Germaine Pratt?
Yeah, man, I love it. Anytime you can bring in an experienced veteran like this, 29 years old, he's got plenty of tread left on that career.
Yeah,
True general of the defense, right? When was the last time that we said that we had a definitive one of those? I know Bob Spillane, had a couple decent seasons with us, but this is the kind of guy that can just take control. And we needed somebody that was going to take control. We weren't sure if that was going to be a Landon Roberts' story or not. But Germaine Pratt definitely fits that bill. 616 total tackles, 3.5 sacks, 7 forced fumbles with 5 recoveries. What a concept there. How about let's get the ball back on defense? Let's create some opportunistic plays for this defense. And man, wouldn't you just love to see that, Graphk? It's like we know that we have some questions on defense, especially when we get to the back half and we get into the secondary and whatnot.
Yeah.
But if you have an opportunistic defense, somebody that can get the ball back for our offense, we know is going to be dynamic. Like, come on, man. I'm all about this. I think it's great.
He's very durable. Started in all 17 games last year. Once again, he was the captain of that defense. Coming off of a career high, 143 tackles, had 2 picks last season, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. This is a massive move for our Raiders, man. I love to see John Spytek and those guys cooking. They're making sure they're going to give Pete Carroll in year 1 all the weaponry that he needs on that defensive side of the ball. Real quick, also, before we get to the Shaquille Griffin, I want to give some salute to the chat, man. Everybody over here, Raider Ryan, my dog gifting 5, OLV Raiders Network memberships, 1 up, my brother gifting 5, and also Indiana. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys are the GOATs. Without you guys, this channel does not work. Salute to all the new members in the building. If you guys missed out on those 15 that all my guys put out there, man, hit the link. It's pinned up top. It definitely helps us keep the lights on over here. Thank you guys so much for always supporting what we do over here. So also we have Shaquille Griffin. We just talked about that briefly. He'll be in for a visit with the Raiders. And it sounds like if everything goes according to plan, Murph, he will be a Raider. He is, a little older. He's been around for many moons. He was a piece of that Pete Carroll defense early on. They drafted him back in 2017. He's a former Pro Bowler, had a Pro Bowl year in 2019, kind of jumped around the league a little bit after that. Jacksonville, Houston, Carolina, played for Minnesota last year, played in all 17 games, only started in 3. But I think this is a nice depth move, a guy that has a ton of experience with Pete Carroll, right? And can add some extra value, can help instill that defense because it is Graham's defense, but we know that Pete's going to sprinkle that extra seasoning on top of it, right? And this is a guy that if we do bring him in, I think we're kind of done with the Jair Alexander talk or the Jalen Ramsey talk. because I think that they really believe in these young guys. That the Eric Stokes, what I'm hearing, Murph, is performing really well right now. Also, our guy, Darian Porter, rookie, they have high hopes for him as well. Jacorian back from that shoulder injury. I think this would be a good move for us because, once again, it's a depth move. It adds some experience. He will be the elder spokesman in that room. What do you think about potentially bringing him in? And do you think that eliminates, the Jai Alexander or the Jalen Ramsey trade?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we were looking to, establish a veteran presence with that secondary, and this certainly does that. It was not the name that was, at least we saw, high on the radar. As you mentioned, the other two guys is kind of where we were all looking. But you kind of you need that with a young secondary, and you mentioned a handful of those guys, also DeCamry and Richardson, who also see big jumps with. People forget that when old school guys like me have been rooting for this damn team for long enough, got enough gray in your beard. You remember, man, wide receivers and cornerbacks usually take a couple years to develop. It's only in the rarest occasions do you get the Justin Jeffersons or Jamar Chases of the world that just come out and light it up year one and are established, freaking all pros right out of the gate. It takes time for wide receivers and especially defensive backs. That's a huge adjustment for defensive backs to get used to the speed of the NFL. It takes time. And so I think that you got a guy like DeCamry and Richardson is really going to make a jump this year, but you got to have the glue guy. You got to have the veteran presence who basically turns into essentially a coach on the field. That whether you're Patrick Graham or the defensive backs coaches or whoever you are, being that voice to that squad, it's great to have a guy on the field that can coach that as well. That comes from a position of experience. At 29 years old, like you said, he's been around. He's had a handful of stops. He understands what it is to play for Pete Carroll. I think that this is a solid move for a defense that in the secondary needed a good, solid veteran presence, aside from maybe like Jeremy Chin at safety. But as far as corners go, for sure, this is a great move.
And it kind of reminds me of, like the Reggie Nelson pickup. One of those guys, a veteran guy, had a Pro Bowl under his belt, come in and kind of help, build that culture and so on and so forth. So I like this move. And once again, I'm not expecting a ton out of Shaquille Griffin. At this point, he will be 30 in July. Not saying that his career is done by any means, but, once again, he has one Pro Bowl under his belt, and it was under Pete Carroll, which is great. And all those former players that played under Pete, you know what that is, Murph. Is all these guys do, they brag about their guy. I mean, Bobby Wagner was excited on Twitter when we brought him in. I was like, oh, maybe Wagner's going to be a Raider because of this, right? Richard Sherman was out there boasting about him, and Russ, everybody was. I think that this is the right move to make. A guy like Shaquille Griffin, you don't have to give up some draft capital. I would love Jalen Ramsey in a Raider jersey. I would love it, but you don't have to depart with any draft capital and take on that massive contract. And then with Jai Alexander, what does that look like at this point? He's missed 20 games, I believe, in the next right? What are you getting with that, and what kind of money would you have to pay? Not saying that we're out on that. We could potentially still make a move and add another piece to that defense, but I like these moves, man. Just randomly out of nowhere, the Raiders just, go out there and make some moves. And real quick, salute to Jeremy Fowler. He was the first one on the Shaquille Griffin free agent cornerback. Shaquille Griffin is visiting the Raiders, per source, former Pro Bowler, also visited Seattle earlier in the offseason. So, and from what I'm hearing, it sounds as though if everything goes right, Pete will have his guy in the building. And this is going to be another inexpensive deal. But this has been the trend, though, Murph, which has been great. Landon Roberts, 1 year, like $3 million deal. Devin White, former a Pro Bowl guy, Super Bowl winner, 1 year, nothing. It's like $2 million, no guaranteed money, right? You bring in Shaquille Griffin, a guy that, wants to prove that he still has something left in the tank. This is the kind of moves you make when you come in year one, because Pete is expecting to win now. And I'm not saying that these guys are going to come in and become all pro guys or Pro Bowl guys, but you need that with all these young guys in the building. You got Trey Taylor out there in year two. You have Isaiah Palomau, a guy that we brought back that's still really young. That defensive line, we brought in two new DTs, and Malcolm Kuntz is still young. You need that experience on the defensive side of the ball. I love what they're doing. Real quick, man, how are you feeling in totality about the offseason? We haven't got an opportunity to talk about it. Real quick, everyone that's just piling in right now, make sure you guys go subscribe to my brother Murph, Raiders Fan Radio. He has a great foundation, the One Nation Foundation. Make sure to go over there and donate whatever you guys can. It is a phenomenal cause. So make sure you go over there, donate $1, $2, whatever you guys can. Make sure you go support our guys. But in totality, this offseason, how are you feeling, man? Because the energy is different right now, Murph. It feels like we say this every year, but this time it feels like it's real. Like, you're bringing a ton of just proven Pete Carroll. Tom Brady's in the mix, and it sounds like he has some say on the personnel. Spytech, who I heard great things about during the Shrine Bowl week. Everybody kept coming up to me like, you guys got a dog. And, Dealin, our new running backs coach, I'm a Notre Dame guy, so I'm very familiar with what he does. Then you go into the draft, and you just bring in the best running back in forever, and Ashton Genty, Jack Besh, Dante Thornton. Our guys out there killing it right now at minicamp and OTAs. In totality, man, how do you feel about this offseason?
To quote Michael Corleone in The Godfather 3, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. You know what I mean? I went at the end of last season, Graphk, it was such a dog shit ending to the season. I was like, all right, that's it. I'm over here, the eternal Raider optimist. I always try to look to find something positive within the team. But at the end of last season, I was thanking the Raiders for relieving me of the burden of expectation. I'm like, no more am I going to go into a season thinking this team is going to do anything until they prove it. See me in week 8, week 10, then whatever, and see how the record goes, and see what the team looks like, and then maybe I'll be bought in. But sure shit, man, this offseason has absolutely flipped it. And now I'm like, well, there's no reason for us to not be encouraged on what the Raiders' moves have been. And I know that people can get nitpicky and say, about, they should have went for this particular guy or should have went for that guy. But you don't know that they didn't. And we heard Spytech the other day talking about calling around looking for quarterbacks. He was like, we would be embarrassed if we revealed some of the names that we called.
I love it.
That's due diligence. That's not Tom Telesco going like, oh, we're not going to trade up. We're just going to sit right here and just see what happens. Now, fuck that, man. Let's be aggressive and let's figure out what's going on.
Yes.
And so Spytech has made not only a lot of moves, but very prudent moves. And somebody in the chat room there mentioned this feels like Gruden bringing in a bunch of these old guys. No, this is a young-ass football team, and you have to have a veteran presence. When you look at some of the greatest, not just the greatest Raiders team, but the greatest teams of all time, they are a blend. They're a blend of young, up-and-coming players and cagey veterans. You got guys like Willie Brown out there playing alongside younger players.
Talking old shit, Murph. Talking old shit.
You got to have that, man. You got to have the blend. And so that's what this team is being built as. And it gives you depth, and it's reasonable. These aren't like 2-3-year commitments. You want to talk about Gruden? 2-3-year commitments for guys that maybe still had something to prove or were kind of on the tail end of their career. That's not this. These are 1-year deals to help try to guide a young football team. Y'all got to think in terms of, well, you can think whatever the hell you want to think. But in terms of my sports brain and my football brain and being around this damn thing for 52 years, you have to have leadership. Leadership is huge. Now, unguided leadership and not having the talent and the strategy in place, we saw what that looked like last year. We had strong leadership. The players continued to play for that coaching staff, but we just didn't have the roots. We didn't have the talent there. We didn't have the coaching there.
The injuries definitely derailed this situation as well. But yes, I agree with you. I definitely.
You know what I'm saying? And so now you've got a combination of leadership and ability. And that's deadly. That's when shit starts to go right. And so we've got these older players that still have some ability, but have the ability to lead. Then you have a bunch of young guys that have tons of ability, especially when you were talking about the offense. My gosh, this offense is going to be bananas. They're going to be so freaking fun to watch. I know we still got some questions on defense. But anyways, all that said, so how do I feel about the whole thing? I think that they have made absolutely smart moves to make us highly competitive. And I think that that's all we can ask for in this quick of a turnaround is just make us competitive. What do we want as fans? We want something to watch. Yes. We watched a boring-ass football team last year. I'm sorry. For a majority of those games, that middle 10 when we lost all those games, they were not exciting football games. We weren't losing one-score games, whatever. We weren't losing that.
It was nasty.
This is going to be a team that's going to put points on the board and is going to keep up with hopefully anybody. And we're going to find out quick because we're in one of the toughest, if not the toughest division in football. It ain't going to take long. We're going to figure this shit out. There you go. We're going to figure this shit out 3, 4, 5 weeks in. We're going to know exactly what this Raiders team is going to look like. And I'm encouraged. But I always am. But I'll say this and I'll shut up. I feel like this is one of those kind of seasons, Graphk, where I don't have to look far. I don't have to convince myself. I don't have to go, oh, well, maybe Josh McDaniels learned his lesson and maybe he'll turn it around and maybe he's changed his line of thinking and maybe. There ain't no maybes.
Yeah.
We know exactly what we have. We know who Pete is. We know who Gino is. We know who Genty is. We know exactly what to expect out of this football team. And there's not a world that somebody can convince me that they're not going to be at a minimum highly competitive week in and week out.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? I was at this. I told the chat yesterday or the day prior when me and Wasted did our show that I was at this coaches clinic. The Dallas Cowboys had one out here locally. I went to go get certified so I can coach high school and all that good stuff. But I got a chance to talk to their head coach, Jerry Jones, and all these guys. I mean, the Matt Uberflus. There was a ton of people out there. Ken Dorsey, and a ton of them kept mentioning Pete Carroll. Compete. Ton of them. And this is a Dallas Cowboys coaches clinic. That lets you know what we're getting here. You know, when it looks bad with Pete Carroll, does it really look bad? I mean, it's 9-8. It's like you're somewhere in that, that middle of the pack range, right? You know, with these past recent seasons, we would have loved to be 9-8. Murph, we would have took that because at least we know we're fighting for something at the end of the season, right? Coming off a 4-13 year, it's like, can it get any worse than this? And a lot of people, no, it can't. No, we are Raider fans. We know firsthand it can get worse. It can get worse. But you bring in Chip Kelly, who I am hearing wonderful things about that offense. I've spoken to several players. Dante has come on the screen twice and spoken about Chip Kelly. Dylan Lowby has hit me up behind the scenes saying, Graphk, this is going to be fun. And there's a ton of other people out there, feet to the ground, that are telling me this thing looks real. And last year we were hearing the offense was struggling a little bit during OTAs and during minicamp, and the defense was winning. And we're like, well, we're a defensive-minded team. You know, we'll be okay, and so on and so forth. We weren't. That was one of the worst offenses that we've seen in a long time as Raider fans, and we've been there forever, Murph. We've seen some really bad offenses. We've seen when Stu was there and we had a top 2, top 3 defense, and we couldn't do anything offensively. You know, it was just bad. Couldn't run the football. The O-line was bad. The quarterback play was terrible. I am excited. What do you think about this draft as a whole? Because what we did, there was a trend here. You've talked about it on your show. We've talked about it ad nauseum over here as well. Good guys on and off the football field, leaders, just guys that have chips on their shoulder that want to play football at the highest level. Besh with the story about his brother. Genty, about the moving around and finding a home here in Texas and becoming a legend out here. And next thing you know, he goes to Boise and he takes the world by storm. Dante Thornton, a guy that had a limited route tree, and then he's out here and he's showing people already what he can do, as a whole as a wide receiver. And then you go look at JJ and Tonka and these other guys. I mean, Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant, so on and so forth. Tommy Touchdown, which I'm excited to see how they throw him out there into this offense and get him the new Julian Edelman that everybody's talking about, and Cam Miller potentially being the guy down the line that could potentially be the guy. Who's to say? But what would you grade this draft? And give me 3 of your favorite picks in this draft class.
Well, it's hard not to say Ashton Genty just off the mind. That's the absolute default answer on this draft. Is that didn't it feel nice that for the first time in I don't know how long, the Raiders did exactly what everybody thought and what we all hoped that they would do.
Yes.
Like, how many drafts have we, even just in the times that you and I have known each other, how many times have we shared the airwaves or done a draft show or whatever, and all of a sudden they draft and we're like, who? What the fuck? Like, what happened?
What the fuck was that?
Yeah, and so it was like such a collective, period of excitement when the Raiders pulled the trigger on Ashton Genty, because it just made sense on so many fronts, is in terms of what the fit is for this team and needs, and everybody knows it, and it's been talked about ad nauseum as you mentioned. But I think that draft pick not only told me that they were going to do the right thing based on where they were. Like, I think back to at the end, towards the end of the season last year, where everybody was, not everybody, but a lot of people were bitching. They were like, quit winning games. Like, it's going to, screw up our draft pick. And I was saying back then, and I say it now, and I'll say it forever. It doesn't matter where you draft. Just do well when you're there.
Yeah.
The freaking Chiefs draft Super Bowl starters every year with the 32nd pick, for crying out loud. You just have to do well with where you are. And so that's what the Raiders did, is that they did well based on the team needs, the best players for said need when they were there. And so when you look at Ashton Genty, obviously he's a great runner. We all know that, but he's also a great pass catcher. So he's very versatile in what he's able to do in the offense. Well, then you get to Jack Besh. Well, what is Jack Besh? Jack Besh is tough. He's a good route runner. He's got vice grips for hands, right? He's versatile. You could
move him all around.
Move him all around. You put him on the line of scrimmage, for crying out loud, and all of a sudden,
former tight end. He's a former tight end, Murph.
Yes. And so anybody that's been like any criticism of like the lack of, not lack of, but some of the choices that they made in wide receiver. Well, guess what? This offense is going to run through our tight ends and our running back. So they did. And so Jack Bech is essentially half of a wide receiver and half tight end. Like it fits into this offense. And then you keep on going down the list. What does it every single pick tell you? Versatility. You mentioned a touchdown. Tommy Mellott is a highly versatile player. JJ Pegues, highly versatile player. Charles Grant, highly versatile player. These guys can play multiple positions. They're not going to be just asked to do one thing. Even Cam Miller, as you mentioned, like he can do multiple things. So
he's a winner.
He's a winner, and so he can be on the team, and you're not just automatically going to take your third quarterback and just stick him on practice squad. He ain't just going to automatically go there, because guess what? The guy's fast enough and athletic enough. He could probably play freaking. He could play on special teams as well. Like he's going to be versatile enough to do other things, and that's the thing that I think was such a badass theme to this draft, is that we knew they were going to be good guys that love football. We knew they were going to be tough. We knew that defensively they were going to have size. We knew that we were going to have speed. But what I didn't see coming was the versatility of all of them. And that is badass, man.
You know the great thing that I love about, because this same time last year, we were talking about AP and Getsy and those guys saying, we're going to be a run-first football team, right? We're going to be a run-first. Getsy and those guys ran the football effectively in Chicago. A lot of it was Justin Fields. But we were excited. We're like, okay, well, we're going to run the football. And we were like, okay, Zamir, Alexander Madison, a lot of Sincere was there. Dylan, we didn't know if we're going to see the football field last season. I really believe it now, though. You bring in Genty at 6, we're running the fucking football. You bring in Chip Kelly, a guy that had Trayvon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins out there off a national champ. We're going to run the fucking football. Like it's actually, we can be happy that we're going to run the football. We're going to ground and pound this year. It's going to be a defensive-minded football team with a great run game. And then once again, we're going to work those tight ends. There's a reason why we didn't move on from Michael Mayer. There's a reason why, Brock was drafted last year at 13, and he's already the best tight end in football. And then once again, you said Jack Bech, versatility, can play in a slot, can play on a boundary, can kick in at tight end if need be. Like this is going to be a fun team to watch. And we didn't even mention Jacoby and his blocking, and what he can do at the wide receiver position, his versatility as well. Kick over in the slot, play on the outside, and all that good stuff. Real quick, salute to George, veteran signing, Dave freaking Rowe. 1976. Salute to my guy, George Manley in the building. Salute to Cap as well. As soon as we saw Pratt hit free agency, we all knew what time it was. By the way, Joe Burrow on a request, he's going to request a trade out of Cincinnati in a couple of years at the rate they're going. I agree. Salute to my guy, Violator as well. Murph and Graphk. I think the move should help our midfield coverage. Talk that talk, OG. Salute to my uncle in the building. Violator, him and Waster put on a great show a few weeks ago. If you guys haven't got an opportunity, run back over there to Waster's channel. That was fun to watch. We have 1,200 people in the building, you guys. Wipe them feet, hit them thumbs up. You guys are not subscribed yet. What are y'all waiting on? Hit that subscribe button. And once again, go support my brother Murph and go subscribe to the Murph Fan Cave on YouTube, Raiders Fan Radio. Go support my boy Swaggy, Michelle, and my brother Murph. What'd you think about initially the pickup with Gino Smith? Pete Carroll comes in, we move a third round pick. We bring in a guy that was top 5, top 6 in passing yards last year. Did struggle a little bit because their offensive line was like 28th in the league. They had one of the worst ground games in football, 21 touchdowns, 15 picks, but he did good with what he had, right? And 2 years that he played really well were under Pete Carroll. What was it? He won most improved player in 2022. He had a Pro Bowl year that year. What do you think initially about the move? And then how do you think about it now, hearing all the noise coming out of OTAs and minicamp?
When it first happened, I thought, okay, this is our bridge guy. So we're going to draft a quarterback either this year or next year. And that, and especially now after hearing Spytek's comments about how they were literally calling around for everybody. Yeah. But after, the Matt Stafford thing, I think had some smoke, although some folks think that maybe it was just a leverage play, and that's fair. But the idea was that the Raiders were in the mix to acquire Stafford. That falls through. And it was like, I'm like, okay, well, Gino's the bridesmaid then. He's like the other veteran out there. And I thought, okay, so they'll bring him in. He'll play for a year or two. That'll be about time out with his contract. And then we'll be on to the next guy that he's helped mentor. The further that this thing goes on, though, the less and less and less that I think of that. And now Gino might be around for a hot minute, and I'm here for it. Like, I think that when you look at, again, leadership is going to be a theme of this. When you look at his comments and the way that he carries himself and the poise that he has, and he's a pro, like he's a pro at this point. And he's still, I know that folks get caught up in age a lot, but quarterbacks play in their 40s now. Don't forget. And so 34 years old is not old yet for a quarterback. If things go well, okay. Here's the way.
He has a ton of tread left on the wheels too. He didn't play a ton early on in his career.
Amen. And so I would ask, some fans that are still not convinced of this yet, if the Raiders win a playoff game with Gino Smith at the helm, in what world would he not get a contract extension from the Raiders? Explain that to me. For a team that hasn't won a playoff game since 2002, since before I'm sure people in the chat room were goddamn born, and you're going to tell me that he won't get a second contract or at least an extension? I say bullshit. I think that this guy is going to be our quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years. And yes, he may be mentoring guys like Miller, even AOC, whatever the case may be, or other quarterbacks that they bring in. But the panic is no longer there. We were panicked coming out of last season going, oh shit, we need a quarterback desperately. We have got to have somebody come in and take the reins. And so that's why we were in our Raider fan brains overdrafting quarterbacks in our heads, thinking like, well, we could get this guy, or we could get that guy, or we could get this guy. Gino Smith put all that to rest. He quieted all of that. And now we don't have to be panicked. Now we can let it come to us, because we're not going to be in a situation where we've got, Gardner Minshew throwing, lob balls to Patrick Surtain going back 99 yards. That's not going to be the case with Gino Smith. Is Gino going to be perfect? No. Does he throw some interceptions? Yes. Is he because he's willing to throw into tight windows? Give me the guy that's willing to trust his ability and to try to give a playmaker an opportunity to make a play by putting the ball in there and maybe risking a turnover now and then. Give me that versus the conservative guy or the guy that plays timid. And Gino's far from a gunslinger, but what he is he's willing to get the ball into the playmakers' hands. And when we've got players like, I said this earlier on Twitter today, Graphk, and I'm sticking by this, and I'm hoping the season proves me right. I will take our group of pass catchers in terms of reliability over just about anybody in the league. When you look at Ashton Genty, vice grips for hands. Jack Besh, vice grips. Jacoby Myers,
doesn't drop the ball.
Brock Bowers, no more of these face mask balls and belly balls and all this bullshit that we've seen out of Raider receivers and pass catchers over the years. These guys, literally, I'm not saying that they're the greatest receiving core in the league, but what I am saying is in terms of reliability, dude, name me a team with 4 guys that are collectively better. I don't think there's very many.
And you also, I'm hearing great things about Trey Tucker. He's in great shape right now. He should have a big year in year 3. And then Dante Thornton. Right now we're hearing really good things about the young kid out of Tennessee, man. I seen Levi put something out there the other day, I believe, saying he's probably been the best rookie out there up to this point. And mind you, the pads aren't on, the helmets aren't on yet, but it's a great thing to hear that you may have got a diamond in the rough in the 4th round, a guy that didn't get to display a ton of his ability at Tennessee because of the way that offense goes. You're out there.
And Nico was not a good deep ball thrower. That's the other thing too, is that you're not, this wasn't Hendon Hooker running the offense. You know what I mean? This isn't a guy that could light it up downfield. This is Nico, and anybody that's an UCLA fan, you're going to find out real quick. That's not his game. And so it would have been tough for a guy like Thornton to excel in an offense like that. Or now, and especially, the other thing, I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted you there. I'll keep it brief. The thing that I love about whether it's like Jack Bash, or you look at obviously what Brock's going to do, what Michael Mayer does, even what Jacoby does. A lot of them work down low, work close to the line of scrimmage, right? Mm-hmm. And you're going to have defenses pressing up because they got to worry about Ashton Genty as well. What does that do for a guy that can blow the top off of an offense? Let alone Trey Tucker as well. But now you put those guys on a freaking 9 route down the sideline, and guess what? They're adding an extra safety to move over because everybody's playing down low. Dude, I'm telling you that I absolutely agree with you. I think that he is underrated in terms of his ability to impact this offense. Yeah. And when I say this, I mean this offense. Because the way that this one is built, I'm not saying he could go anywhere in the league and light it up, but the way that this team offensively is constructed and what they're going to do, bro, I'm with you. I think we're going to see some explosive-ass plays out of that young man.
Gino said the same shit, Murph. He said in one of those pressers, like, I'm hoping that some of these DBs man up on these guys. Go ahead, be my guest, because Dante can take in a flash 4.3. I mean, what did Tuck run, like a 4.2 or some shit? I forgot what he ran, but he ran like a 4.2, 4.3 as well. There's a ton of speed out there, and they can control those boundaries while Brock and Jacoby and Mayer just eat the middle of the football field up. And I'm expecting, once again, like you said, Genty, a year ago, not this past year, but a year ago, he had 500, 600 receiving yards. They kind of just turned him into a workhorse last year and had to run the football a ton. But the year prior, he was one of the better pass catchers out of the backfield in college football. So, and Pete has already alluded to the fact that they want him to be a third down back as well. They don't want him off the football field, which is great. I love it. Dylan's been working on him with his pass protection, his pass pro. I love it. I think that this can be a great year. This is going to be this. Let me say this. I don't want to say that this is going to be the year, but this could be the setup year for this team to really put it all together. If it is the year, I'm expecting we need those year 2 and those year 3 guys to step up majorly. We need Tyree to take the next step. And I know he had a presser today, and Tyree even said, like at this point, look, year 3, I'm ready to go. You know, you got JPJ, who is a leader in that locker room now. He's out there with Max working around the clock, lost 15 pounds in the offseason. He's ready to go at the center position. We need some of those second and third year guys to step up. If they do, I'm going to be honest, Murph, this may be an interesting year. We watched Denver last year going to the playoffs. We watched the Chargers going to the playoffs. This happens. We watched the Commanders go to the NFC Championship. It can happen. We shall see. Salute to 2-4. Graphk, you have my vote for violator for mod step. Oh, yeah, definitely. In my opinion, he's the mod of all mods. Legend, should have his name in blue lights. Salute to my guy 2-4. I will definitely make a moderator over here. Salute to Raider Prophet. Graphk and Murph, based on your comments, what exactly will improve our red zone efficiency the most? I think that's Ashton Genty. I think that's also, because I know Gino struggled these past few seasons in the red zone out there in Seattle, but Genty, he's going to be a monster, right? Raheem Mostert has been a guy. Remember a few years ago in 2023, had 20 touchdowns, I think 18 on the ground. You got to keep him, in check too. And he's still fast as hell at 33 years old. And then you got, pick your poison right now. You got Jacoby and Besh and all those guys. I think Mayer is going to be an interesting piece for us in the red zone this year as well, Murph. I do. I believe that he's ready to go. I think mentally he's prepared. All these videos that I keep seeing, he has this connection with Gino already. And Dante was excited when he was on the show the other day. I mentioned him. He said he just smiled. He lit up. Like, Mayer, that's my guy. Like, I'm expecting him to help those red zone wolves. And then Brock. I mean, he only had 5 touchdowns last year with bad, terrible quarterback play. Expect him to double that up. I'm expecting him to help in the red zone as well. So, and then also Prophet Chip Kelly. I mean, his scheme is
there it is.
Chip Kelly is a guy that is he's going to be the brains behind all this. He's going to turn this thing around. This is not a Luke Getsy ran offense anymore. This is going to be a guy that wants to score in bunches. I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
That was the name that popped into my head when he asked the question. It's Chip Kelly. To me, that's the biggest. And yes, I agree 100% with you because of all the talent and all that those guys' ability, especially to get open in shallow space. I totally agree with you on that. But the idea that, like, how many times was Brock Bowers targeted in the red zone last year? How many times did they get him singled up with a fade ball in the back of the end zone? Never. We didn't see him score a touchdown in the red zone until the last game of the season, and he had to barely way in from the 5-yard line. Like, why the hell? What? In what world that literally coming out of college in his whole Georgia career, and then also in the whole offseason, what were the reports coming out of camp was that Brock Bowers is unguardable. That's a quote from one of the beat writers. Unguardable in the red zone, and we never fucking threw him the ball in the red zone during the season. Like, tell me how that makes sense in any world whatsoever. Last year we had nothing but coaches outthinking themselves. God dang it, man! I'm telling you, it was brutal. But anyways, all that said, that's not going to be Chip Kelly's story. He's creative enough. He's going to figure out how to make this shit happen. And watch touchdown Tommy Mellon get some snaps in the red zone too, man. I'm telling you, this thing is going to be fun to watch.
I want to see some wildcat looks with him. I want to see him get in the special teams, return some kicks. That kid is too explosive. He's too elusive to not find him somehow, some way, get him involved in the offense. Salute to Ghost Regime Network. For once in a long time, we have a competent and championship style coaching staff to complement our talent. That's going to be the difference at the end of the day. Salute to my guy, the Ghost, on the $5 special. Appreciate you, my brother. Now, real quick, we're excited, but I also want you to give me some concerns right now. Maybe is there any concerns that you have Is there another player out there in free agency that you potentially looking at, or maybe even a trade on the horizon that you think can still better this, right this ship? I mean, once again, we've done a ton. I mean, you can't ask for everything in one offseason, right? We had a great draft class, great, I thought we had a great free agency period. We didn't spend a ton of money. This wasn't a great free agency class. So I thought that we spent responsibly. We brought in the right people. I think Landon Roberts is going to surprise a lot of people. But give me some concerns you may have right now, Murph. And once again, if there's a concern at the DB spot, is there a guy that you would go out there and get? Do you want a veteran wide receiver opposite of Jacoby? Give me some concerns you may have right now with this roster.
So I think we're going to be okay on a wide receiver because I think everything's going to funnel through the run game and funnel through the tight ends, and I'll tell you why later when we get to a different topic there. Okay. But what one of my favorite camp battles. And it's also one of my biggest concerns is that I'm excited at the idea, but it is so unproven, and therefore that's why it's a concern to me. And that's some of these rotational positions on the offensive line.
Yes.
Is DJ Glaze the guy at right tackle? Is Parham the guy at guard? And we've heard from Spytech that these young linemen that we've drafted, they're competing day one. Like, this is not like, oh, we're going to bring them along and then we're going to start fitting them in and see how this goes. Nope, they are competing day one for tackle and guard spots. And so we've got essentially 3, maybe 4 guys competing for 2 positions and 3 tops. And so it's if DJ Glaze holds it down to the incumbent, then fair enough. But there's going to be some movement in there. And so that's going to be curious to me. I don't think that we need to be concerned about left tackle. The idea that I don't think Colton's going to hold out, whatever. He's already come out of the gate and said he wants to freaking retire a Raider.
He said it yesterday. I don't want to go anywhere.
They don't want to go anywhere. And so, I mean, if, his agent was going like, God dang it, shut up. Don't say that shit.
Yeah, for real.
You know what I mean? So I don't think he's going anywhere. And obviously JPJ is going to be a freaking class of the league at center here, relatively soon. And so I think that those other 3 positions. Now, the good news is that we have, I think, very talented guys competing for those spots. So I don't think that it's like we had this big glaring need, this big glaring hole where we're like, oh gosh, I remember remember the line that we had when it was like Donald Penn and it was Gabe Jackson and it was Huddy. And it was like, and those guys didn't give up.
Osemele. Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, Osemele, and then Austin Howard.
Yes.
And it was like, God dang it, every time the fucking car would get blasted, it was off.
It was Austin Howard on the right side.
Yeah, and I'm like, God dang it. So I don't feel like we have that kind of a setup where we've got 4 solid spots and then 1 where we're like, ugh. But I think we're going to be okay when it shakes out. And I love, the last thing I'll say, and the last thing I'm encouraged, even though it's a concern, is that there's depth. So even if, whoever gets the actual nod, the quote starters, there's now depth there at the line. So if we do go down a player or 2, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. It's not like, oh shit, here we go. Like, you know what I mean?
Jordan Meredith played really well for us last year. He's a guy that's versatile, can play all over the O-line. We brought in Caleb Rogers, who's very mature for his age and played a ton, at Texas Tech. So I'm expecting some greatness from him. I think that Charles Grant's going to be a really great piece for us down the line as well. But the O-line, some people can question it. I understand why. I think last year we got a lot better when Joe Philbin took over, and he's still out there. Him and Brendan Carroll are going to run that O-line, and Chip's definitely going to have his say. I still think, once again, this Shaquille Griffin, if he does come in, I think this is a depth piece, you guys. I still think that we should, if anything, just acquire about Jair Alexander, acquire about Jalen Ramsey, because if you bring in Ramsey, he's a starter from the jump. I mean, he's a guy that is going to be a future Hall of Famer, all-pro guy that played in all 17 games last year, started in all 17 games. Yes, he's starting to come back down to reality a little bit, but he's still Jalen Ramsey. I would still take a look at him, and potentially I would maybe try to add another edge rusher just in case, because Kuntz, I'm expecting great things from him. He is coming off of a devastating knee injury. Who is Tyree in year 3? If he struggles, who's going to be the guy that can come in and rotate in and out? I don't think it's Charles Snowden. I like Ja Joyner, the UDF fader we got out of Minnesota. I'm hearing good things about him as well. But I would love to acquire about Jadeveon Clowney. Why not? A guy that can play the runner at a high clip and can get to the quarterback potentially 9-10 times a season. I would at least take a look. But, I mean, there's not really a ton of concerns. I know some people may think that safety room is a little unproven. Jeremy Chinn's going to be a stud for us.
I agree.
Palomal, Pete Carroll's going to find a way to unlock all that potential that he has. We still have a guy in Trey Taylor, Murph, that a ton of people forget. He was the best DB in college football a year ago out of Air Force, and he still hasn't even gotten an opportunity yet. He was basically just on special teams coming off that injury. So I'm excited, man. I don't think there's a ton of concern here, but once again, I think you did hit the nail on the head there. The offensive line, we got to figure out where we're going with that. If I'm a betting man, Murph, and tell me if I'm wrong here, I've said this the entire offseason, is Colton. It is Parham at this point. I think that this system will be a little bit more tailor-made for his skill set. JPJ, I think Alvis Kappa is going to get the nod because he is Tom Brady and spy test guy. And I heard that he's looking pretty well out there as well right now. And then Glaze, I think in year 2, he played really well for us. And you got Mumford that can back him up. So what would be your starting 5 right now? Is Meredith take one of those spots? I mean, who do you think would be your starting 5 on that O-line?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I think that that's the way, and based on all the reports that we're hearing, it seems to be that that's the way that it's going to go. You know, I don't know if Kappa holds that spot all year long. And I think the idea, too, of, quote, starters is a little bit of an outdated, thought nowadays in the NFL. That even if you're named the starter, that really doesn't mean like what it used to, where it was like, okay, you're going to be the guy at your job and it's the whole rest. There used to be that, in the old days, it was, even not even that long ago, it was like you had to have the same 5 guys on the line because everybody had to gel and everybody had to, be completely like-minded and pull as one unit, blah, blah, blah. I think those days are a little bit over because now everything is so specialty based and that it's important for the room to be gelled. It's not the particular 5 guys. It's the entirety of the room, and it's the communication up and down the line. Can you know what I mean? Can you trust your checks and your calls coming in, your protections, it doesn't matter who the guy is. Can you trust that it's going to be accurate? That's where really, quote, the gelling comes to be important. So I think that I agree with you on those 5 guys. It wouldn't surprise me though if the 2 younger guys, especially as we go and being in Grant and Rogers, as we go through the season, if we start to see them just get more and more and more as they get used to that NFL speed, see those guys get more reps. And I'm with you on that. And then last, I want to touch on 2 real quick. You mentioned on the defensive end about pass rushing. I think that's a concern too, and I think that's a great one that you called out there. And it's not even so much the fault of the players that are already on board, although Tyree Wilson is still unproven. It's injury. Really, and you could say for the whole defensive line. If this defensive line, and that's a big if these guys came back 100% healthy,
great.
Bro, this could be one of the most dominant defensive lines the Raiders have ever had.
But they're both coming off nasty injuries. Huge. Absolutely. And even Max is coming off being dinged up. So it's like, these are big deals. These are big question marks, but I don't mean that. Listen, I have nothing but the ultimate reverence for the past. And I grew up with the greatest of Raider teams, but I'm telling you, this could be like Greg Townsend, Howie Long style, like, you know what I mean? Like Alzado, and I know that's rare territory and that's minorly, potentially blasphemous for me to bring that kind of stuff up. But, Matuzak, Sistrunk, like that's it's Max Crosby. He's undeniable. Yes. Christian Wilkins, we've seen in his career be undeniable. We saw Malcolm Koonspe in 4 games, granted a small sample size, was undeniable. The reason we won at Arrowhead on Christmas was because of Malcolm goddamn Koonce. Like, the potential is there, but the injuries, bro. And nobody can do anything to control that. Yeah. They're either going to come back or they're not. And so that's a little bit of a concern, and it's scary. And I think it's so scary to me because the potential is massive. Yeah. I love that you mentioned too, like you don't necessarily have to start in like NBA terms. The NFL have a ton of 6 men. You don't always have. When you go look at some of these guys' stats, you're like, damn, they played in 17 games, but they only started in 6, and they had north of 10 sacks in the season. Like, you don't always have to be that necessary starter in order to be productive and to be able to help your organization. Salute to Will. I know Griffin's coming in, but man, if we made a move for Ramsey now, I'm going to be so hyped. Going into this season, D-line is stout, linebackers nice, upgrade the secondary, and we are cooking, boys. Salute to my guy, Will Duncan, on the $10 special. Salute to Raiders USC, gifting 5 OLV Raiders Network memberships. Salute to my guy, man. I appreciate you. If you guys missed out on those 5, hit the link. It's pinned up top. Welcome all the new members. And salute to the Jersey King, my brother Brandon. I miss having, JJ Pegues. JJ Pegues, and we're going to see him in goal line situations, Murph. You're going to see him out there. I'm telling you now, he will be out there, fullback, halfback, whatever you want to call it. His big ass is going to be out there blocking for Genty and whoever's back there. I'm telling you now. And he's really good at his job doing it. Salute to my guy, Brandon. Salute to Prophet as well. And Violator says, Murph got me salivating. Talk. Salute to Prophet. May not have a 1,000-yard receiver, but 3 800-plus yard receivers. Running back room will give us 2,000-plus on the ground. Tight end room, 1,400. More TDs than ever. Great defense. Salute to my guy, Raider Prophet. And I love that you mentioned the running back group because I wanted to ask Murph about this. Who do you think – let me ask you first and foremost, how many running backs do you think we carry this year? And if so, how many who do you think makes this roster? Because we know that right now Zamir's still here. Dylan is still here. Sincere is still here. They brought in Raheem Mostert, former Pro Bowl guy. He had a massive year in 2023, but he is up there in age. He's coming off of, I think, was a broken sternum or something like that last season where it riddled his career, his season last year. Who are your guys at the running back position? We know Genty is going to be the workhorse, but they're going to work guys in and out. Who's your running back group if you had to name them now before training camp comes?
Gosh, I think that it's going to depend on their ability to play special teams because I think that it's got Genty and Mostert. That's our 1 and 2. I'm really rooting for Zamir White just because he had such potential coming out of Georgia, especially in short yardage, and for whatever reason that just hasn't really connected in the NFL. So as far as like my heart goes, I would be rooting for him. But I also too like the versatility of a guy like Dylan Lowby and even Sincere McCormick because they can play teams. And we talked about that earlier, that playing special teams is massive, especially when you're playing at a depth position. So I think that which ones of those guys are going to excel in those areas, that's probably who's going to get the nod because they'll be lucky if they get a carry a game. If not, they carry every other game or two or just can come in replacement of injury because you're right. Like when you talk about Genty, like he's 3 down back, man. He ain't coming off the field. He's going to be the opposite of Max Crosby. Like he's just going to play every freaking snap, and there's no reason for him not to. And I love that when you brought up about JJ Pegues playing at fullback. I was like, Swag and I were talking about this the other day, and I think Chip Kelly is just about crazy as shit enough to do something like this. Can you imagine Tommy Mellott, JJ Pegues, freaking Brock and Besh on the line? Like, where the fuck is the ball going? Like, and who's it going to? Who's taking the snap? Like, because Pegues is notorious for taking direct snaps. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Or have it freaking Mellott go in motion and go like what the hell is going on around? So it's bananas, man, what this team is going to end up doing it in the red zone in terms of creativity. But so to answer your question fairly, though, I think that you got your 1 and 2, and then I'm just going to go with Zamir just because I'm still hoping that running backs should acclimate pretty quick. They shouldn't need a lot of time. But with the dysfunction of this offense last year and that goofy ass Luke Getsy and all the bullshit that we had with the collective of the running game, when Amir Abdullah is your best running back, like
it's bad.
Yikes, man.
First 100-yard game like late in the season, but it was nasty by a guy that's over 30 years old who's a free agent right now, who doesn't even have a job. And that's no disrespect to our guy. Once a Raider, always a Raider. But man, what's funny, man? And people think I'm biased because Dylan's my guy. I just, you said it, like special teams means something. The guy can return kicks. He can be a gunner. I think there's Zamir. I would love Zamir to make this roster because I think he brings a particular skill set that none of the other guys possess. But I just think that he's going to be the odd man out. If Sincere can stay healthy, I think he's running back 3. And I think we keep Dylan around special teams and a guy that could potentially get a few reps in the passing game because he was a great running back out of the backfield in New Hampshire. I know the collegiate level, especially in that division, is different from the NFL, but I'm expecting him to potentially steal one of these spots because of his special teams ability. So we shall see, though. But I would love to see Zamir. I mean, he had a great stretch of football in 2023. We thought, Josh is gone. Well, hey, Zamir's coming in. He looked good those last 4 or 5 games. Maybe we got something here. And then last year, the scheme wasn't a fit. The O-line struggled early, and Zamir you can just see mentally kind of checked out. I think a lot of those guys checked out last year. We all checked out. Shit. I mean, we were doing mock drafts week 6. With the number 1 pick, the Raiders select. It was just like, damn, man, nasty. Salute. Go ahead, brother.
I was going to say, I started watching more Miami Hurricane and Colorado Buffalo games than I ever thought I would in my whole life, just because I'm like, well, might as well check out and see who's coming up, because we're going to need somebody to play on this football team. You know what I mean? I was like, shit, I started watching way more. And I watch a lot of college football as it is, but it was like, you're right. You know, about week 6, it was like, oh, okay. Let's time to start looking at the draft.
So I have my AFC West show with my guys, you know, my guy from the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Broncos next Tuesday. We're doing this 5-player potential breakout guys this upcoming season. And, you know, usually that's more of the younger guys. I don't want to put you on the spot because I know we didn't get a chance to really put this show together behind the scenes. But if you had to name 5 guys this season, Murph, just like the burger spot, 5 guys that you think could be breakout players this year, give me yours, and I'm gonna give you mine. If they're any different, I think we're gonna probably have the same. But go ahead.
Okay, so are we talking about guys that haven't broke out yet? So because I mean we got high performer, you got Brock Bowers, like a guy like that who's gonna
he's already out of here. He's already out.
Okay, I got you. All right.
So, or guys that were close to breaking out as well, and we're expecting better results this upcoming season.
Okay.
Malcolm Kuntz.
All right, so I think that it's easy to go with Ashton Jeanty. It's probably going to be my default answer for everything. Going for is like
he's number one.
He's number one. He's number one. He's going to light this thing up. That said, I think that Jack Besh, man, that guy was sneaky. I think how good of a pick that was for the Raiders in the second round, and I think that the league is starting to take notice of it already. Let alone when we start getting into games. I think that that's going to be a big one. So let's see. So that's 2. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to stick with DeCamry and Richardson. I think I like the speed. I like the size. I like, we all know that, that Pete Carroll is a defensive back whisperer. And so I think that we're going to see a lot from that young man on the
tackling machine too, Murph. Tackling machine.
Big and physical, and like when you look at the physicality of this team, man, I think it's awesome. So then I'm going to go with Jeremy Chin. I think that's another one way underrated. That dude, you want to talk about a dog? That's the definition of a dog on defense, right there. Is that guy? He's a freaking unit, man, and can hit like a freaking ton of bricks, man. Can cover well, fast. What else do you want out of a defensive back and a safety?
He's already a chess piece. They're already utilizing him everywhere already, so it's going to be exciting to watch him. Yes, that was one that I didn't even think about.
Yeah, I like Jeremy Chin a lot. And the last one I'll give you is I'm a fan because maybe I'm a sucker for the big guys, especially big guys that carry a football. Give me JJ Pegues, man. I think that he's going to have not only an impact which we desperately need on the interior of the offensive line, him and big old Tonka in there, but man, offensively, that's going to be a lot of fun. This guy, I'm sure everybody knows, but if just remember, 25 of 26 on third down conversions carrying the football. Crazy. In the SEC. So it's not like he's going up against a bunch of little dudes. That's a big man carrying the football. And by the way, he can throw too. Bananas, man. He's gonna be like freaking, like Taylor Lewan out there throwing freaking touchdown passes. It's like, holy shit, this is gonna be fun as shit.
I'm gonna give my 5 right now, even though my show is next Tuesday. I don't care. It is what it is. Because my boy Murph's in the spot and I want to talk my shit. Number 5 to me, potential breakout guys. It's Darian Porter in year 1.
Oh, good one. That's a great one.
The first DB, former wide receiver, converted to corner. This is the Richard Sherman story all over again with Pete Carroll. We're already hearing great things that him and Eric Stokes have been getting the number 1, the most reps out there as starting at the corner spot. I think that if anybody can unlock that full potential in year 1, it's Pete Carroll. Patrick Graham as well. I got Darian Porter at number 5. I got JPJ at number 4. He looked he looked really good last year, but he needs to break out. And this is the year he's going to break out. JPJ will be a top 5 center, maybe top 3 center when it's all said and done this upcoming season. JPJ, easily a leader, a guy that is vocal, comes from a great football background. His family are phenomenal human beings. Jackson Powers Johnson at 4. Number 3, you said Best, so I'm not going to go that route. I'm going to go Dante Thornton. He just possesses a skill set and measurables that you can't teach. 6'5", 4'3", blazing speed. Once again, he's not just a 9-route guy. If you go look at the tape at Oregon, His route tree is a lot more than what people put it out there to be. Dante Thornton, to me, can be that big body guy that can take the league by storm this upcoming season. He has a guy that can throw the deep ball now, Murph, with Gino Smith, one of the better deep ball throwers in football. I got Dante there at 3. 2 is Malcolm Kuntz. 2023 coming off a great stretch of football at the end of the season. Didn't get an opportunity to do so last year because of the injury during training camp. I'm expecting big things from what I've heard. He had other options in free agency. Teams wanted to sign him to more years, and he said, no, I'm going home. I want to be a Raider. I'll take the 1 year, prove it type deal. He is going to be great, barring any health injuries. And the number 1 is just Ashton Genty, dude. Like, he's going to get the football a ton. He's going to be the guy to set the tone on the offensive side of the ball. And once again, one of the most underrated running backs in the passing game. Genty's number 1 for me. So those are my top 5 guys. I love that you mentioned Jeremy Chinn, though, because people don't realize he's a veteran. He's been in the league for some time now. He's been on a few teams, but he hasn't really – every team that he's been, I went and looked at the fan base, and they're like, he's a dog. He's a dog. It reminds me of Robert Spillane, like a guy that, like, played really well, but just didn't really get the notoriety that he deserved. I agree with you. I think Chinn is going to be a guy that's going to definitely take this league by storm this year because, once again, he's going to kick down in the slot. He'll play both safety spots. They're already getting him closer to the line of scrimmage. He's going to be a missile going after quarterbacks. Chinn is going to be fun. He's going to remind me of one of the old school DBs that the Raiders used to have back in the day. You know what I mean? So,
he's going to be what we wanted John Abraham to be.
There you go.
That guy, because you would see like 24 flash every once in a while, right? You'd see him fly into the backfield and hit somebody, and it was like, holy shit. Too bad he overran it most of the time. But when he did make those, it was amazing. But where Chinn's not going to be that guy. But I'm with you. He's going to play down low. He's going to play around the line of scrimmage. And I think that's where the Raiders kind of slow played what they did a little bit at linebacker, because I think that we're going to see a lot of 5 DBs out there. We're going to see a ton more of that, where we're just going to have a single linebacker out there.
Yeah.
I think that's the way that this is going to go. And Jeremy Chinn is going to be essentially then the quarterback of the defense. And so I love it, man. I think that he's going to be a great player for the Raiders. And I want to jump back to something and then it'll dovetail into this, because something that we started talking about. The reason that I think that this team is going to focus so much on running the football and playing defense, in particular getting after the other team's quarterback, is that, there's a lot of talk in modern day football about, everything's highlights and we can all be dazzled by the electricity of a high powered offense. And I'm not saying that it's not important. And we've seen teams like, whatever, you've seen offensive teams win Super Bowls, but the majority of winning in the NFL, when it comes to late in the season, on the road, and especially in the postseason, what do all those teams do best? They run the football and they play the hell out of defense. How did the Philadelphia Eagles just win the Super Bowl? They ran the hell out of the football and they played good defense. When we got to go on the road and play some of these tough games that we have on our schedule.
Cold weather cities.
How are we going to win those games? We're going to run the football and we're going to play defense. We don't need the most dynamic quarterback in the world that's going to run for 1,000 yards in a season and throw for 4,000 more. We don't need all that. What do we need to do is control the football, have an opportunistic defense, and freaking control the clock. It doesn't matter how many incarnations of the rules and otherwise that this league goes through. At the end of the day, those things win you football games when it counts most. I'm not talking about a regular season game, week 3, at Los Angeles and SoFi playing the Chargers. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about in the second round of the playoffs when you got to go to Baltimore and win. How are you going to win? You got to run the shit out of the football and play defense. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's the mindset. And clearly that's the way that they're going into this, because just look at how this team is built. They're all gritty. They're all tough. They're all strong. They're all big bodied. They're like, this team is going to grind people up. I know we're going to have hopefully we'll see some flashes on offense, and we'll have a very exciting offense that can put points on the board. But this team, I think, is going to beat the shit out of teams. And the way that you beat the Chiefs, that we've seen now twice from the Buccaneers and from the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, you got to beat the shit out of them. And until we can beat the shit out of the Chiefs, this Raider team ain't going anywhere. So I'm hoping that that's what they have built with this squad. And I think that we as fans understand going into this season, that's what it's going to look like. And I'm here for it, man. Yeah. Give me that old school run game and defense, man.
You hit the nail on the head, man. Time of possession. Keep those guys, keep Mahomes off the football field. And when he's on there, be physical. Like you said, Philadelphia beat the hell out of him in the Super Bowl. But time of possession is something that we're going to run the football heavy. You have Genty out there. You got a great tight end duo with Mayer and Brock, and Mayer has gotten even better in the blocking game. Salute the Raider Prophet. He could be a guy that can break out this year. But once again, there's only so many footballs to go around. That's why I didn't put Michael Mayer in that mix. But I do believe that Michael Mayer can have a big year for us. But no, I agree. In game management, man, with Pete Carroll in the fold, we don't have Matt Shelton out there calling the shots anymore. AP's head telling them what to do, timeout here and not there. You got a guy in Pete Carroll that knows the game like the back of his hand, and he is going to go out there and make all the right decisions outside of that nasty passing the football instead of giving it to Marshawn Lynch. I don't think we'll ever see that again. Like, you know what I mean? But I think that Pete is definitely going to help us in that role. Salute the Raider Prophet as well. Let me get a few comments in the comment section. We just hit the hour mark. I'm not going to keep my brother in here all night, but I definitely want to ask a few more questions before we get out of here. Alex says, bring in Mike Hilton for a visit also. I wouldn't be against that. He's probably the best slot corner left available in free agency. And that's one of the last questions I have for Murph as well. Is there any other potential free agents? I mean, did you hear all the talk of Amari Cooper having, thoughts of returning to the Raiders and maybe mutual interest there? Do you think bringing him in would hamper the development of a Dante and Besh, or would you want to bring in the veteran guy that can help in that wide receiving group with the likes of Amari Cooper?
I thought before the draft that was a really fun idea because out of all the three names that this was before Carr retired and revealed the shoulder injury and all that, it was like, okay, out of Carr, Mack, and Cooper, which one of those guys would you want to see back in a Raider uniform? And I think the most sense was, Amari Cooper makes sense. Like, Khalil Mack doesn't really make sense at this point, but where he's at in his career and who we already have at pass rush. The Carr thing was just, let it go, people. But Amari Cooper, I thought was very interesting. I thought, that actually makes sense from fitment and all that. I thought, okay, having Cooper on one side and Jacoby Myers on the other, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of fun to think about. Now, post-draft, being that now with the guys with Thornton and with Besh coming in, I would hate for the Raiders to rob any snaps of those guys. And we've got that veteran leadership presence already with Jacoby Myers. But there is a part of me though, and maybe it's just my fandom coming out. And I was the first one to give Amari Cooper shit for all the drops and all that kind of stuff. But he's still a freaking dynamic playmaker, man. The guy is still very productive. And so could that be a fit for the Raiders? I think that would be fun. But the overall answer to your question, I mean, unless there's somewhere that kind of comes out of nowhere, like the Germaine Pratt thing that kind of came out of nowhere because he was like, I want out of here. And so, you know what I mean? I'm like, so unless something like that were to occur, I think we're about good. I was on the Jalen Ramsey thing for a hot minute, but the more, and I still wouldn't be mad at it. That would be great. I think it would be a great, again, veteran, solid guy, someone that you can put out there and you can trust. That doesn't, that is proven. But the more and more that you hear about these young DBs, I'm like, and now you're talking about Shaq Griffin coming in too, to be that better. I'm like, I don't know. Part of me feels like, man, we're cool. Like, we're good. Like, let's run with what we got,
We talked about it on the show the other day. When you go the long history historically of Pete Carroll, he's developed those guys. He drafted those Legion of Boom guys and developed them into who they were. So that's why I thought it would be interesting if we made a move. Because Jalen Ramsey has faced, Pete Carroll a ton with his time with the Rams, and I think they faced each other like 9 times in his career. So they're very familiar with each other. Let's just say that. But I think you're right, man. I think we're kind of good to go right here. I would like to make a move for Jalen. If Miami would eat up some of that contract and it didn't cost us an arm and a leg to go get him, I wouldn't be against bringing in Jalen Ramsey. I think Griffin I don't think it eliminates that, but I also think that, once again, you guys, we're not getting a guy that's going to be a shutdown corner. He's not going to completely shut down one side of the field with Shaquille Griffin. He is a guy that is going to provide a ton of depth for you at this point. He played in all 17 games last year. He started in 3 games. So he didn't have a ton of reps. He did have 2 picks last year, which was great for Minnesota in that defense. That was a great defense out there and a great coach as well. But he's still productive. He had 41 combined tackles, 33 solos. So this is a guy that can add some value to this team right now. But I think we're kind of good to go. And when training camp comes around, we'll start to see a little bit more, right? Injuries do occur. I hope to God they don't affect us this year like they did last year. But maybe we look elsewhere down the line. But I don't know, man. I wouldn't be upset about Jair. I wouldn't be upset about Jalen, but it has to make sense financially. And I think Spytek is being smart. He's holding on to that salary cap. Because once again, if you go on a playoff run, if it's the middle of the football season, that trade deadline comes around and you got some money at your disposal, you may be able to play around a little bit, make a move, and that could potentially win you a playoff game or two. So I like the way Spytek goes about his business, Murph. Like, it's so good. The one thing I love too was he got Pete, his guy, at 6. And what he said was, okay, well, Chip wants a wide receiver. I'm going to trade back twice. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get 2 offensive linemen back to back because that's the way I want to build my team offensively in the trenches. And he went and got 2 big dogs in Grant and Caleb Rogers back to back. And then he got real creative in the later rounds with JJ and Tonka, who could be an interesting piece on this defensive line. Cam Miller, and then like you said, Tommy, like it got a little interesting. Then you get Lindenberg there in the 7th as well. But I like the way this team is moving, man. I'm excited. Give me real quick. Have you already done a prediction on your show in terms of, because the schedule's already released, on the way out, I would love to get just a quick prediction of what is it? 10-7, 11-6, 9-8. Where do you think this thing falls? Barring any crazy health injuries, health wise, what you got?
So funny because going into we call it the I remember what we called it, the mildly ridiculous schedule prediction show or something like that. Yeah. Because all 3 of us are pretty ridiculous, and so mildly is probably hedging it a little too much. We'll just own being nonsense around our show. But anyways, all that said,
I've seen this too. I'm just only asking for the chat. So because I remember this show. Now I remember it vividly.
I was thinking that, like, okay, I'll probably be in that, like that middle range, right? Like that 9-8, 8-9. That's what I had them last year. And I'm like, all right, maybe competing, knock off a few games in the division. Well, we went over in the division, so that's not a good start. I don't think we're going to go over in the division again. There's no world where I don't think that we're at probably a minimum. We go 500 in the division.
I had us 3-3. That's how I had it. 3-3.
There you go. That's what I'm thinking too. So that's 3 more wins on top of 4. So that gets you to 7. Our out of conference schedule is pretty workable. So I think that there's another couple of wins in there that gets you to 9. And then it's like from there out, it's like, okay, well, what are we going to look like against, the Titans at home? Well, that's a pretty winnable game. I mean, Cam Ward, I think, is going to be legit, but they ain't going to be that good yet. There's a reason they have the 1st overall pick in the draft. So you start picking off wins in there, and all of a sudden I got us to like 12 wins. And I was like, God dang it, I did it again. I fucking went and bought into my own fucking shit again. I said I
did that too, but I had to go back and add a couple L's. I added the Browns. I had the Browns as a loss because I was like, holy shit, man. I think I was somewhere like 12. I'm like, okay, I got to get a little bit more realistic. The Browns game was that's a game I think we should win, and I think we will win. But I took the L there because I'm like, where that game was in terms of the schedule, that matters a ton, right?
Oh, yeah.
You could be coming off 2-3 game winning streak, and it's like, okay, somebody has to bring you back down to reality. I think at that point I was like, the Browns will probably bring us back down.
But we always win a game we shouldn't win and lose a game we shouldn't lose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you look at last year, we went on the road and beat Baltimore.
In week 2.
Nobody was winning that football game.
Yep.
And yet there they go. And then there was 10 more after that you could pick any of them that we lost that we shouldn't have. You could start off with the damn Carolina Panthers, right? Like it happens every year that we. So I'm with you. Watch the Browns or the Titans or somebody like that end up knocking us off one week. But I'm telling you, man, I don't think it's as crazy as it sounds. And that teams turn around every year, and and I'll say this too, and also too in terms of what you brought up around just trusting the coaching staff to work with what we already have in house. That should not be underestimated or understated. The importance of good coaching. Good coaching, you can unlock people. When you look at good coaches, and you can look at the way Antonio Pierce unlocked Malcolm Kuntz. You had Josh McDaniels getting on Malcolm Kuntz's ass for making plays in practice and fucking up his offense. Well, instead of celebrating that, he was reprimanded for that because Josh McDaniels is a buffoon. Okay,
but AP and Rob Leonard, no, that's how you go about the game.
Exactly, and they absolutely unlocked him. How many players are Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll and the rest of this staff going to unlock that are already on this Raiders team. And I'm telling you, and if that happens, God forbid that happens, dude, I don't think it's that crazy for us to win 12 games. It probably is, but I'm going to own it because that's the way my delusional silver and black brain goes. But I think that it's feasible. I'll say that. When you look at the schedule, and especially like you said, the way that it lines out, where the bye week is, what our travel schedule looks like, when we're going to places, like we have like some cold weather, but it's not like we got to live on the East Coast all year long. It's very feasible for this Raiders team to put up double-digit wins, and God bless it. And I know we're getting ready to wrap it up, but I'll just say this, man, like you've been around this team a long time. I've been around this team a long time. I know a lot of the folks in the chat been around this team a long, long time. You know, I'm not a fan of deserve because I don't think we deserve anything. I think that we earn everything that we will ever get in life. But when it comes to something that is out of our control, like the Raiders playing football, man, if we hadn't earned our stripes, here we are in the middle of June, in the offiest of the offseason, doing a show with thousands of people in the chat room talking about our football team. Man, if that ain't earning your stripes and earning the ability to watch your team win freaking 10 or more games, I don't know what is, man. And I just, I can't.
I love it, bro.
You know what? I'm not going to turn to the Almighty and ask for, divine, interference to help our team win 10 games. But God dang it, man, it's long overdue, brother, for us to get something that we can root for week in and week out. And the last part I'll say is this, and not just have it be a flash in the pan. Not just a 2016 or 2021 or just oh, wow, we got a decent season. And then follow it up with a shit show. No, I want to see our team be competitive for a few years in a row. What a concept, man. If we could ever get to that point, and at the risk of sounding like an idiot for the umpteenth time on the airwaves, I think this is the year that we start a little bit of a winning window.
See, I had a ceiling at 11-6. I ended up 10-7, and I have a basement of 9-8. So either way, and I love that you mentioned, the later part of the season. The good thing is we have 2 road games back to back, right? Arrowhead is always tough to play in. I believe that's a road. I think we go. Is it to? No. I'm lying. We go to Philadelphia, and then we go to Houston. So Philly's going to be a tough spot to play in, but Houston is indoors. The weather should be really nice, and Gino has played really, really great indoors his whole career. So I'm excited about that. Real quick, man, salute to CGR as well, gifting 5 OLV Raiders Network memberships. My brother, salute to you, one of the Mod Fathers. I see my brother Hug in the building as well. It's always good to see the Mod Father himself in the building. Man, Murph, I thank you so much, brother, for pulling up. Plug away real quick. What do you got going on? Let everybody know where the foundation is. Let everybody know where to follow you guys at and what you guys got going on right now for the off season and for the season.
Appreciate that. Thank you for the platform, man. So we are proudly part of the Believe Network, as far as one of the official Raider shows on that network in terms of the audio podcast. And you can find our audio podcast just by searching Raiders Fan Radio on any audio podcast service. And then we take that show, we do it live, and it's every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, youtube.com/Raiders Fan Radio. So you can find us there. And everything that we're doing now with our show goes to support our nonprofit, which is the One Nation Foundation. 100% of the money that we make with Raiders Fan Radio, we give it all away to Raiders-related charities. Through that nonprofit, we give it to the folks like at Raider Dad, who are taking underprivileged kids to Raider games. We give it to the Blitnikoff Foundation, who are taking young women at risk of domestic violence and substance abuse and giving them safe spaces and rehabilitative services and counseling and just some wonderful organizations that we're so incredibly proud to partner up with. And that's all supported by our show, Raiders Fan Radio. So even if you can't contribute to the foundation monetarily, we just ask for a like, hit a subscribe, hit a thumbs up, hit a retweet. Tell your Raider friends about us. Anything like that you can do to help support Raiders Fan Radio, we are incredibly thankful for. And it's fun. I say all the time that like our show is like we're the dog whistle. Like not everybody kind of hears it, right? Because we're pretty irreverent. We're pretty silly. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We take our Raider fandom very seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously.
But it's fun.
You've been around us long enough. Yeah, man, we just like to play and have a good time.
Yeah.
I've got the it's going to be fun. I've got the new studio going in downstairs. That's why I'm sitting up here in the freaking cabin in the woods doing the podcast tonight. But we got a new studio coming in. So we're going to look forward to getting back into our podcast studio, our dedicated space. And so definitely check us out. You'll have fun. I promise you, stick around long enough and somebody will say something stupid that will make you laugh. I promise you that. Definitely. We may have terrible football takes, but I like to think we're a little irreverent. And
you're one of the people that me and Wasted constantly talk about behind the scenes, about people that actually know the history of this team and know the ins and outs of what's going on right now. So your football mind is definitely respected.
Thank you.
I don't think that you have any crazy takes. We're Raider fans, so we're going to say some crazy shit regardless, right?
Yeah.
But and you're one of the few people too, and I see a lot of people saying about to subscribe to you. Thank you guys so much. This is the thing, man. Few people walk it. A lot of people talk it. They walk it. They do a lot for this community within the Raider Nation, man. I'm telling you guys now some great things. Salute to Hug. He says, showed up late, but always here to support. Great late Tails Murph. Glad to see you working with my brother Graphk. Raider Nation for life. It's our time, y'all. And the CGR put right there. Go subscribe.
Oh, thank you.
Go subscribe to our brother. And once again, somebody that doesn't only talk it, they walk it. They really live this Raider shit. Salute to Swag. Salute to Michelle. Me and Stu had a ball with them in Cincinnati. We had some crazy shit happen, but we had a ball the entire time. I think Swagger probably told you guys about our crazy tales.
Oh yeah. Well, I wish I couldn't make, because we were moving into the new house and moving the studio and all that stuff, so I couldn't make the trip. But I was living vicariously through them, and they told me some stories about hanging out with y'all at night, and I'm like, God dang it, I can't believe I missed all that.
Yeah, we had some fun. We got a chance to talk to some cool people in the organization. We had a ball. Tell Swag, tell Michelle we love them, and we appreciate them as well. Once again, man, salute to our brother Murph. Do me a favor, brother. Send me your email once again if you can. On a Twitter DM. I'm going to send this over. And if you want to upload it on the channel, be my guest. Upload it and do whatever you want with it, man. So
that'd be awesome, man.
Anytime you come here, my content is your content, brother.
Thank you very much for that, Graphk. I can't appreciate you enough. And I do want to thank you too here at the end. I want to tell you thank you. You've always extended out a very welcoming hand to all of us at Raiders Fan Radio, whether that be on the air or just in person. I'd say one of my favorite trips ever was the draft. When we all got together at that Charles Woodson event, that Woodson Whiskey event, man, that was some of the most fun that we've ever had on a Raider trip, was hanging out with you and Wasted and the rest of the Mount Shieldmore. You guys are awesome and always have been so cool with us. And thank you for sharing your platform with us like this, like tonight, man. It's just a great opportunity for us to not only get the word out, but it's just fun, man. I love kicking it on your show because I don't have to drive the ship. I just get to talk that shit, right? That's all I get to do over here. And that shit, I love it, man. It's so fun coming on here. So thank you again, man. And can't respect you. And not only with your success, but also what you do. You talk about walking it. You're freaking walking. You're the real deal, man. Absolutely. I've met you numerous times as the rest of RFR crew has behind the scenes. And what you see on this show is exactly what you see at a Raider game or a tailgate or otherwise. Graphk is Graphk, man. Nothing changes.
Two things on the way out, real quick. The show with me, you, and Stu was one of my favorite shows of all time, ever. The Bush. I think it was the Bush show. It was the Bush show, right?
Yeah.
And every time I see Charles, salute to Charles Woodson, the GOAT. We love him to death. Every time I see him, the first time Murph and them met him, they came up to me, and Wood had just got done taking pictures with everybody, but then he went back into the VIP section. And I remember Murph and Swag came up to me. He was like, "Yo, hey, can you get C Wood? I think was it Swag? I don't know who it was, to come up and take a picture. We would like to get a picture real quick. I think you missed that portion of what was going on or whatever." My drunk ass goes over there and just picks like Wood up, like, "Yo, bro, hey, come over here real quick." Wood mentions that all the time. He was like, "Yo, I knew from that point that you were like my kind of person." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was like, "Come on, we'll get up, woo." And he appreciates that because he loves to be a part of the nation, and he loves the fans and all that good stuff too. So.
Hey, and that picture and that of all of us yelling, and it was a video. They took it with my phone, and it was of course, we're all going Raiders.
Yeah.
Still that image of all of us. You're in the front, in the middle, and Charles is right there behind you, and we're all kind of fanned out around you guys. I fucking love that picture. That's one of my favorite pictures, man. I'm telling you that. Yeah, that was great. But I'm like, But yeah, it was me and Swag because we missed all that.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, we need to get Chalk over to get around everybody. I'm like, we need to get everybody all up in one picture. And you did. You just went right over to him. It was like he finally just sat down. Was like, oh, finally.
Yeah.
And there's Graphk going, come on.
Yeah. He looked at me like, you motherfucker. Nah, man, salute to my guy Murph. Salute to my people over at Raiders Fan Radio. And salute to the One Nation Foundation. Once again, you guys, if you want to help donate anything, share the link. Go over to, what is it, onenationfoundation.com?
.net is where you find the website.
.net, onenationfoundation.net. And CGR, I believe, put the link in the comment section as well. So make sure you guys go over there and follow our boy, subscribe, and go donate to the One Nation Foundation. My brother, as always, salute to you. Have a good time with your night. And also, man, good luck on the studio and putting it all together. I know you had a lot of moving and shaking lately, so I know you're excited to finally get the studio rolling.
Man, it's going to be nice to get back into our space, man. We need down there and start doing shots before the show again.
My brother, man. Have a great night. And we'll run this back at some point during the season. You know how we do.
All right. Sounds good, man. Thank you again for having me, man. Appreciate it. Good night, everybody.
Salute to my brother Murph, man, for pulling up and coming to kick it with us. As always, we love them so much over there. If you guys can, go over there once again and go subscribe to my guy Murph, him, Swag, Michelle. They have a ball over there, man. And once again, for those who are just joining right now, the show was about some breaking news. Our Raiders have went out and signed former Bengals linebacker Germaine Pratt. He's signing a one-year deal worth up to $4.78 million with our Raiders. Pratt started all 17 games last season and is coming off of a career-high 143 tackles to go along with 2 picks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. But that's not it. Jeremy Fowler also came out with a tweet. Free agent cornerback Shaquille Griffin is visiting the Raiders per source. Former Pro Bowler also visited Seattle earlier in the offseason. So it looks as though we are very, very active right now. And it sounds like we will be signing Shaquille Griffin. So he should be a Raider here very soon. I don't think that Pete Carroll is going to allow his guy that he drafted way back in, I believe, 2017 to walk out of that building. We can use some depth. We can use a veteran in that room. So I expect Griffin to stick around. I don't think that means that, we're done this offseason. Ramsey's still available. Jair Alexander's still available. From what I'm hearing, and there's some reports, I believe, that the Pittsburgh Steelers may be in on one of those guys. Well, they're interested in both. So they may pull one in. So that may limit, if we want to bring in another potential starter at the cornerback spot. But Hug, one. He has one. Yeah. It's crazy to see that he did that in the NFL. It's crazy. But other than that, you guys, as always, love and appreciate you guys. I will have a coffee and convo, I believe, tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. We'll break down the signing a little bit more, and we'll talk about what happened at minicamp a little bit more. I'm excited, man. I'm hearing really good things out of Henderson with some of these young guys, hearing really good things about Gino Smith. We're definitely going to talk more about what we got going on out there in the off season. As always, I love and appreciate you all. Make sure you wipe them feet on the way out. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 30,000 subscribers, you guys. I cannot do it without you guys. We still have 1,500 people. If you're on Twitter, jump over to YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. As always, love and appreciate you all. I am out. One.